from Bad Intentions Boxing, joined by friend, promoter, trainer, Carl Greaves. Carl, how are you keeping, buddy?
I'm all good, Brett, thank you.
Good. Right, well, let's start it off with something nice. September the 11th, massive show on. Tell us a bit more about that, buddy.
Yeah, Morningside Arena, we're back, finally. It'll be 18 months since my last show, which was last year, March the 14th at Leicester as well, at the King Power Stadium. So we're back at the Morningside Arena, a 3,000-seater venue, and I'm really excited about it.
You've also got a few of your homegrown talent that are out on that show. Stanley Stannard, you know, a lot of other guys that have gone on, done quite well on FIGHTZONE TV shows. Where, in terms of starting off of this, is this the start again of something new and you can start getting your shows back out, or is this an emphasis continuing what you've done before prior to lockdown? Yeah,
well, it gives me a chance to showcase all my talent in the East Midlands. It's a big venue. I'm going to put on as many fights as the board allow me. At the moment there's the 11, so I'm hoping we can run with that. And like, I've just got the best talent in the country, in the East Midlands, really. So we're a great venue, a great stage for them to perform, and it's going to be shown on FIGHTZONE TV, which is another good platform for the fighters. And I've managed every single fighter on this show. I trained 4 of them. I trained Stanley Stannard, Tom Carlin, Ollie Marple and Kyle Haywood, who's topping the bill. So it's a busy night for me, obviously managing and training all the fighters on the show and promoting it. So like I say, really excited to be back promoting now. It's been stressful again, I mean, and I've not really missed the stress, but I'm really pleased that I can get the kids finally out again.
And obviously, you know, I think with the emphasis of what's happened with everybody over at the deal that Matchroom and DAZN have got, it's created that power vacuum, I suppose, to suggest for a lot of other British promoters to come together like yourselves and put these shows out on FIGHTZONE. What potentially does that deal, do you think, that Matchroom have had now they've gone off on their own with DAZN, that obviously Sky Sports that are out there showcasing for the British talent and people like yourselves, I'm sure, to get involved with shows like that? What potentially does that deal mean for people like yourselves, your Dennis Hobsons and your Kevin Maries?
Yeah, I mean, obviously FIGHTZONE is a platform where they're going to show all the up and coming talent that's not lucky enough to have a TV deal. So they're all good fighters. I mean, there's a lot of these fighters on these shows that have gone under the radar, and they're all going to be good enough to fight on big TV shows, but it's a chance to showcase them now. And obviously they've been putting on good top of the bills and chief support, and then just filling the undercard full of local talent. But I'm fortunate enough, like I said before, to have a card full of my fighters and showcasing them, and they're going to be seen to a bigger audience now, as well as what's inside the venue.
So is that a long-term deal, or is that a bit of a mutual agreement between yourselves and FIGHTZONE? Are your cards regularly going to be shown on there?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm part of the team, should I say. I mean, obviously when FIGHTZONE come on board, they wanted me part of it, to be promoting my shows and obviously filming them. And obviously going forward we'll see what happens, but I'm more than pleased for them to be coming to film my shows.
No, absolutely fantastic to hear, mate. Moving on from what we've just said there, and we've just mentioned Matchroom, a particular subject that we'll talk about here, and I think me and you have had many conversations about this. David Avanesyan, last time out, February, fantastic this performance, you know, on a Sky Sports show, decimated Josh Kelly moving on and really pummeled him into the later rounds. There was a tweet that had then surfaced 2-3 weeks ago, I think from Neil Marsh, saying that he was going to fight his mandatory for the European title. There was lots that was previously moving around, you know, that David was going to have a big fight, he was going to have a world title eliminator. Obviously coming a little bit back down with that. Can you give us any more insight onto actually why that's happened, that David hasn't potentially got this big fight out in America?
Yeah, like I say, it's been very frustrating. I mean, going back to defend the European, we should be pushing on now to, like I say, a world title eliminator. Unfortunately, Matchroom haven't been able to deliver David that. They wanted to vacate the European for Benn, and we sort of like agreed on the condition that they could get us a big fight. The big fight hasn't materialised, so we're going to be defending the European title. The mandatory was Jordi Weiss from France. He was 29-0. He went out to purse bids, was all set to go for that, and then he all of a sudden pulled out injured. Conor Benn's number 2. He didn't want the fight, and then obviously we've gone down to number 3, which is Liam Taylor. He's gone out to Purse bid. Sky Sports has won the bid, so he's going to be defending his European title on a Sky Sports show now. So that's the state moving, the situation we're in at the moment. Obviously Neil's still working hard to see if he can get him this world title fight, but in the meantime we'll be defending the European title.
So that's definitely something, you know, and I know what David's like and obviously his team's like. You guys aren't going to overlook the next opponent, but I think potentially, as you're saying, it's working on the stuff and the scenario, and I'm sure Neil's grinding away in the background trying to make sure that he can get David the fight that he deserves. As you've just mentioned there again, you know, that's going to be a fight live on Sky Sports. Is that going to be under the deal that David previously had with Matchroom, or I suppose in the struggle that they've got there with the fight, is this going to be under Eddie Hearn?
No, I mean, as far as I'm aware, David's a free agent now, so we'll just see what happens. I mean, we're not going to be tied to anybody at the moment. Neil's going to be working to see what deals he can get David, but at the moment Sky's won the bid, and it's just a one-off fight from what I can gather. On a big platform on Sky Sports. I mean, obviously his last fight was shown on Sky Sports. He got massive numbers. David's a big draw in Britain now, so having obviously a chance to go back on Sky is a nice situation to be in.
Now, we mentioned there previously, we spoke on Conor Benn, and I'm conscious of you know, pushing you on that subject. But in terms of Conor was obviously there when you defeated Josh Kelly, you know, came in afterwards. There was lots of admiration between the two camps. I think TalkSport did their best to try and create a little bit of needle between it afterwards, and that's a classic Jim White for anyone that knows him. In terms of that fight that we've just mentioned there, Conor Benn, David Avanesyan would have done massive numbers. For me, you know, and no disrespect to Garandos that he's fighting this weekend, that would have been an ideal fight to have had on that card for the European title, a real throwback. Is it more of an emphasis that Conor didn't want it because he's looking above David, or is it an emphasis that actually Conor didn't want it because his mind is somewhere else?
I don't know if Conor didn't want the fight. I mean, I'm not sure on the situation in that, but I know his team didn't want the fight. I know Tony Sims very well, obviously, and I know that Eddie didn't fancy the job, so they've obviously bypassed David, and they're going to try and go another route and go around the block to try and get a world title fight by avoiding someone like David. They know he's a dangerous fighter, and I think they know that Conor's not ready for David yet, so that's a situation there. It would have made sense to have that fight. It would have been a massive draw, especially in this country, after what David did to Josh Kelly. And I mean, there was all talks on Conor fighting Josh, and so why not Conor fight David? I mean, you'd have thought he wanted to fight the winner, but listen, that's gone now. I mean, whether it'll ever happen, that fight, I don't know. But it looks like they're going to try and go a different path. They're going to try and get Conor a world title fight by avoiding the likes of David Avanesyan. So they're looking at fighters who's been half decent fighters in the past, like his previous opponent, and obviously this Granados now. So they're looking at fighters that's got a bit of a reputation from years ago, that's been in with good fighters, but getting him at the right time, in my opinion, it's another chance for him to make Conor look good.
You know, and I think the last on that before we move on, Dave is a dangerous fighter. He's got a relentless amount of energy for people that come on, and I think he really showed his age and experience in his last fight against Josh Kelly. That's definitely a difficult fight for anybody to want to take. You've got a relentless to be able to go through those 12 rounds of pressure. I've seen David up and down sprinting the streets of Newark, you know, so I'm sure moving on from there that potentially people are going to stay cautious on one arm, because again, it's a tough fight and it's definitely a 50-50. Moving on, Rylan Charlton. Have we got any news with Rylan on a potential fight date?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we just feel like he's being used as an opponent at the moment for Matchroom. He's got a deal with them. I mean, he's got a 3-year deal with Matchroom. I mean, obviously he lost to Florian Marco at his wrong weight. We're going to bring him back down to his natural weight now, lightweight we're looking at. And I'm going to be training him, as you know. I mean, DNEL is his manager. So we're just looking at hopefully Matchroom getting him the right fight. I mean, we don't mind going in a 50-50, but We don't want to be going in stupid fights yet. We want to get him established at lightweight. It'd have been nice, ideally, to get him an 8-rounder, a warm-up fight to showcase him, and then we'll go in a tough fight. But we'll just see what the situation is. There's talk of him fighting Luke Willis in Liverpool in October on a matchroom show. I mean, Luke Willis is 10-0. He's not really a puncher, he's a skillful operator. It's a fight I'm pretty sure that Rylan can win, so we're happy to take that. So let's just see what happens, but at the moment it's gone a little bit quiet, but we've been told he's going to be fighting October in Liverpool.
So obviously Rylan, you know, when he come over to yourself, I think there was the emphasis, and I did a previous interview with him before, and actually he stated quite publicly he felt like that when they'd gone into the corner, and actually once the element of his punching power had been taken away from the boxing skill that Florian Marku had, I think he said to me, you know, and don't quote me on this, there was an element that people were looking around thinking, where do we go next? So I'm sure that's something, you know, you have absorbed, taken on board, and think actually, you know, Rylan, massive puncher, a lot of power at that weight. Actually, how can we fine tune those skills and take him forward? He's very, I think he's excited, you know, in the prospect, and I'm sure you guys are. And I think the irony is that Dan Naylor, I think you previously worked with him when he was a pro himself. Yeah. So there's definitely a good relationship there. Where and what is the potential route do you think that Rylan can go, or where would you like to start pushing him towards?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment I'm not being able to do a lot with him. I mean, probably one session a week. I mean, he's living in Norwich. It's 2.5 hours. I mean, 3 hours on a bad day. So it's taking a lot out of him coming here. So I just come over once a week. I feel like we're working well together. I feel like we're seeing a lot of improvement. But until he comes full time and gets a date, then we're never going to really be able to do a lot together. But he's definitely got the potential to do well. I mean, he's a big puncher. He relies on that a little bit too much, so there's plenty of work for me to do with him. Obviously get him relaxing a bit more, throwing a few more shots, not looking at loading up all the time. But he's definitely got the potential, especially at lightweight, to become British champion. But like I say, it's getting that opportunity. I mean, is he just going to be used as an opponent and being chucked in there? We don't want that. We want him to have an opportunity. I mean, he's done a couple of last-minute fights really for Matchroom. I mean, he got Joe Laws last minute, went in there and destroyed him, and then he got obviously he got noticed for Florian Marku. It was at the wrong weight. He got beat, and it'd be nice for him to give an opportunity at lightweight.
You know, I think you've emphasised that on there, and I think he's always said, and I think Dan had said previously after the fight, you know, that was the wrong weight for us. We need to get him somewhere where he's ideal and actually we can utilise the skill that we've got. Moving on again, this weekend, 31st, we've just spoke on that briefly, a massive card, and I think somebody from your neck of the woods, another Nottingham Forest fan, Lee Wood, out there on a world title fight. What do you make of that fight, and how do you see that fight unfolding?
It's a great opportunity for Lee, a massive opportunity, and it's thoroughly deserved. I mean, he's you know what I mean, he's had his ups and downs in boxing. People's wrote him off. I mean, after the Jazza Dickens fight, people thought he was done. He'd come back. He's won the British title, and now he's got a chance to fight for a world title. So Saturday night, you know, a massive opportunity on DAZN against a good champion. He's not unbeatable. He's a fight that Lee can win, and I'm sure he'll go out there and give it everything. I mean, listen, world champions, they're good fighters, so he's got to go out there and box at his best to become champion, but why not?
You know, great words, and I think Lee had emphasised that at the weekend, and when I spoke to him last week actually, that a lot of people are writing him off. He's not just a puncher, so he's going to go out there and he's got a lot to prove. Last and final words, we've got a lot of fights that are coming up. What fight are you looking forward to the most from watching from your sofa, i.e. from a live venue, and what one?
I mean, there's lots of fights coming up in there. I mean, obviously Sky Sports have got to announce their deal yet. I mean, Eddie's got some big cards in his garden on Fight Camp to launch DAZN, and obviously Frank Warren's doing a lot with BT Sport, and then you've got the FIGHTZONE and NSC. There's that many, I couldn't really name fights I'm looking forward to. I'm not the boxing fan that I used to be years ago. I mean, it's been living now. and obviously I watch boxing, and I don't watch it religiously like I used to, but I do like watching the fights, and I'm a homegrown. I like watching the homegrown talent, so I'll be keeping an eye on all the British fighters in big fights, and wish them all very well. But I'm really looking forward to Lee Wood on Saturday night. I really hope he can become world champion. What a massive achievement that'll be. I mean, he's come out of the blue, this world title chance, and he fully deserves it. Like he said, he's a Nottingham lad. I mean, I'm Newark from just down the road, and he's been in here training before. He's done a lot of rounds with Sam Bowen, so I really hope he goes on and becomes world champion. What a massive achievement that'll be.
Carl, absolutely brilliant, mate, and love the words. Guys, September the 11th, Carl Greaves Promotions, Morningside Arena. Do not miss it. It's going to be a banger of an event, and I'm sure with Fight Zone and everybody else, let's all get behind these people. Let's really support British boxing and push it in the right direction. Carl, you've been a pleasure as always, mate. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks, Brett.